Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Canada Immigration News. We hope you are doing great. Well, in this video we will talk about Canada immigration checks at airports for new immigrants. Arriving in Canada as a new immigrant is an exciting yet daunting experience, especially when it comes to clearing immigration checks for new immigrants at the airport. Understanding the process in advance can make the experience smoother, ensuring that your entry into Canada is as seamless as possible. This article provides a detailed overview of what you can expect during your immigration check at Canadian airports, focusing on the two key screening interviews that all new immigrants must undergo. Table of Contents. Introduction to Immigration Check at Canadian Airports. First interview. Verifying official documents. Second interview. Declaring personal goods. Special considerations. Final tips for a smooth entry. Frequently asked questions, FAQs. Introduction to Immigration Check at Canadian Airports. When you arrive in Canada for the first time as an immigrant, you will undergo two separate screening interviews conducted by officers from the Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA. These interviews are designed to verify your identity, documents, and the items you are bringing into the country. Being well-prepared and knowledgeable about the process can significantly speed up these procedures. First interview. Verifying official documents. Welcome to Canada. The initial greeting. The first step in your immigration process begins as soon as you land at the airport. A CBSA officer will greet you and ask for your visa and travel documents. This initial interaction is crucial, as it sets the tone for your entire entry process. Document verification. The officer will carefully verify that you and any accompanying family members, if applicable, have the proper travel documents required for entry into Canada. This includes your visa, passport, and any other relevant documentation. It's essential that all your paperwork is in order to avoid any unnecessary delays. Health and security questions. During this first interview, the CBSA officer may ask you several questions that mirror those on your immigrant application form. The officer expects that you can correctly answer questions related to the information mentioned on your approved application. These questions are designed to confirm the accuracy of the information you provided before your arrival. Some of the common questions you might encounter include: are you traveling with your family? This question helps the officer verify the number of people accompanying you and ensures that all family members have the correct documentation. Have you been convicted of a serious crime in your home country? Canada takes the security of its borders very seriously. If you have a criminal record, it could impact your ability to enter the country. How long do you plan to stay in Canada? This question is designed to confirm your intentions and ensure that your plans align with the type of visa you hold. How much money do you have with you? The officer may ask this to ensure that you have sufficient funds to support yourself and your family upon arrival. Are you healthy? Canada has strict health regulations, and you may be asked about your medical history to ensure that you do not pose a public health risk. Have you been to Canada before? Were you required to leave? Previous visits and any issues during those visits could impact your current immigration process. If the officer is satisfied with your responses and documentation, you will proceed to the next stage of the immigration check. Second interview. Declaring personal goods. After completing the first interview, you will meet with another CBSA officer, or possibly the same one, depending on the airport. This second interview focuses on the items you are bringing into Canada. It's crucial to be honest and thorough during this part of the process, as failing to declare certain items can result in penalties or delays. Declaration of goods. You will be required to present your declaration card, which lists the items you are bringing into the country. The officer will review this card and may ask you additional questions to clarify the contents of your luggage and any goods that will arrive later. Common questions during the second interview. Some of the questions you might be asked during this interview include: what are you bringing with you to Canada? This is a broad question aimed at understanding the nature of your belongings. Do you have any live animals or plants with you? Canada has strict regulations regarding the import of animals and plants to prevent the spread of diseases and invasive species. Do you have any firearms, ammunition, or fireworks with you? Bringing these items into Canada is heavily regulated, and you must declare them. Do you have any meat or dairy products with you? Similar to animals and plants, food items are also regulated to protect Canada's agricultural industry. Do you have any fresh fruits or vegetables with you? These items can carry pests and diseases, so they are closely monitored. Do you have any items from endangered species? The trade of items made from endangered species is illegal, and possession of such items can lead to serious penalties. Importance of honesty. It is critical to answer all questions truthfully. Providing false or misleading information is a serious offense in Canada and can result in your entry being denied. However, if you are well prepared and honest, the process should be straightforward and the officer will sign your confirmation of permanent residence, officially admitting you as a permanent resident. Bringing personal goods to Canada. One of the most important aspects of moving to Canada is bringing your personal and household belongings with you. As a new immigrant, you are allowed to bring these items duty-free, but there are certain conditions and exceptions you need to be aware of. Duty-free items. You do not have to pay duty on personal belongings such as books, linens, and clothes, jewelry and antiques, furniture and silverware, musical instruments, gifts worth 60 Canadian dollars or less, hobby tools and items, private collections of coins, stamps, or art, appliances like stoves or refrigerators, items subject to duty. While most of your personal items can be brought into Canada without paying duty, some items are exceptions. Farm equipment. Equipment for contracting, construction, or manufacturing. Vehicles intended for business use. Items purchased on your way to Canada. Leased or rented items. These are not considered your personal property and are subject to duty. If you are unsure about whether you need to pay duty on certain items, it's a good idea to bring sales receipts and registration paperwork to present to the CBSA officer. Special considerations. Wedding gifts. If you are bringing wedding gifts into Canada, you can do so without paying duty, provided you are married within 3 months of your arrival in Canada. You plan to marry within 3 months of arriving in Canada. However, you must have owned the items before you arrived. The same rules apply to domestic items brought in as wedding presents. Tobacco and alcohol. Bringing tobacco and alcohol into Canada is subject to strict regulations. You may be required to pay duty on these items, so it's important to familiarize yourself with the specific restrictions and limits before you travel. Bringing vehicles to Canada. Vehicles brought into Canada for personal use are typically duty-free, but they must comply with Canadian safety and pollution control regulations. Ensure that your vehicle meets these standards to avoid complications during the customs process. Jewelry and valuable ornaments. When declaring your personal goods, it's important to include any jewelry or valuable ornaments. To prevent customs delays, you should use your insurance policy wording or jeweler's appraisal in your list of goods. Include photographs of the items. Provide receipts showing how much you paid for the items. Family heirlooms are typically exempt from duty or tax, but it's still essential to declare them. Gifts. You may bring gifts worth 60 Canadian dollars or less each without paying duty or tax. However, if the value of a gift exceeds 60 Canadian dollars, you will need to pay duties and taxes on the excess amount. It's also important to note that tobacco and alcohol cannot be brought in as gifts. Final tips for a smooth entry. The key to a smooth entry into Canada as a new immigrant is preparation. Make sure you have all your documents in order, know what you can and cannot bring into the country, and be ready to answer any questions the CBSA officers may have. By following these guidelines, you can ensure a positive experience as you begin your new life in Canada. Remember, honesty is paramount. Always provide truthful information, and if you are ever unsure about a specific rule or regulation, It's better to ask for clarification than to risk providing incorrect information. With the right preparation, your entry into Canada will be a seamless transition into your new chapter of life. Frequently asked questions, FAQs. What documents do I need to present during the immigration check at a Canadian airport? New immigrants need to present their passport, visa, confirmation of permanent residence, COPR, and any other relevant travel documents during the immigration check. How long does the immigration check process take at Canadian airports? The duration can vary depending on the completeness of your documentation and the complexity of your case, but it usually takes anywhere from 30 minutes to a few hours. What items do I need to declare when entering Canada as a new immigrant? You must declare all goods you are bringing with you, including personal belongings, cash, gifts, and items that will arrive later. Specific items like firearms, alcohol, and fresh food require special attention. Can I bring my car to Canada when I immigrate, and are there any restrictions? Yes. You can bring your vehicle duty-free for personal use, but it must comply with Canadian safety and environmental regulations. What happens if I provide false information during my immigration interview? Providing false or misleading information is a serious offense in Canada and can result in being denied entry or facing legal consequences. How do I prove ownership of valuable items like jewelry during the customs check? You should have receipts, insurance documentation, or a jeweler's appraisal, along with photographs, to prove ownership and value. Are there any restrictions on bringing tobacco or alcohol into Canada as a new immigrant? Yes, there are restrictions on the amount of tobacco and alcohol you can bring into Canada, and you may be required to pay duty on these items. What should I do if I'm unsure whether an item I'm bringing to Canada is allowed? If you're unsure, it's best to declare the item and ask the CBSA officer for clarification to avoid potential penalties or confiscation of the item. Thanks for watching our video. Please hit the button and subscribe the channel.